16. We can go 17 minutes. Like an extra minute. All right, go ahead.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. This is Veterans Chronicles. I'm Greg Corumbus. I'm honored to be joined today by Mr. Willie Woods, a member of the historic Montford Point Marines, the first all-African-American unit in the U.S. Marine Corps. When we left off our conversation at the end of the previous segment, Willie was telling us about some of his experiences as he was stationed in Guam. And Willie, as you think about the rest of your time there and some of your other assignments as a member of the Marine Corps, what comes to mind most?
Well, I guess mostly is being processed to return to civilian life. I only stayed in the Marine Corps a little over, well, approximately 2 years. But, and at the time that I was in, they had there were 2 Marine Corps really. One was the white one and one was what they called the colored one back during that time. And we had several men from Montford Point to go to Quantico Officers Training School. And they had all been flunked out. As I said when I first started this was an experiment, and the experiment was really set up to fail, as I see it now, because there were the highest rank at that time in the black part of the Marine Corps, which was the one that was called colored, was sergeant, field sergeant major. And it was the thought of the higher officers in the Marine Corps, ones who had the controlling word, who had the main say, that there would be no colored officers. But there was one young man who I had the pleasure of going through, of starting, but we didn't really finish. Started combat training with him, a fellow named Branch. And when Branch went to OCS in Quantico, he was the first one to really finish. He was the first black officer, second lieutenant, that was commissioned in the Marine Corps. And now Branch was a quiet fella. He wasn't a guy, he wouldn't stand out in a crowd. But he was a fellow who had determination. If he started something, he was going to finish it. And I guess at the time that he went to Quantico, they had flunked out so many that they were down to the last straw and say, well, we're going to let this one through. But I don't believe they could have kept Branch from graduating. Branch was determined he was going to make it, and he made it. And this is what opened up the Marine Corps. When I was drafted, I didn't think of myself as being somebody out front doing something that was really necessary and something that would be a part of history. I didn't think of myself as being one of a group, or any. I didn't connect myself to history at all. But now I can look back on it, and even though I'm a small part of that history, I can feel good about just being that little small part, just to get a little niche in there where I can say, and I can tell my children and my grandchildren that I did serve and I was a part of the beginning. It's not that I ran into a whole lot of segregation, a whole lot of bigotry or anything like that while I was in the service. But the fact that after Branch came out of Quantico, things kind of opened up, it seems, for all branches of the service. President Harry Truman, signed a bill to desegregate the entire military, to all the military services. And after that, everybody was grouped together. So I can see where the Montford Point Marines were like a spearhead for all of this that opened up after that. And I'm really proud to be a part of that. But I'm not one to boast about it or, I can stick my chest out, but I stick it out to me, not to let the world see it, but I'll stick it out to me and say, I'm a part of a big thing. Though I'm a small thing, but I'm a part of this great big thing, and that makes me feel good. About the only thing that, only segregation that happened as far as I was concerned while I was in the service was when I was ready for discharge. In fact, I had really been discharged, but they give you a discharge date that they set ahead of time, and you're still in the military until that date arrives. But the group that I was discharged in that came north, we chartered a bus from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Richmond, Virginia. And the only person on that bus other than us Marines were the driver, was the bus driver. And he was white, but that didn't make any difference. But when we got to Richmond, we ran into a soldier who was headed, this bus was chartered from Richmond actually to D.C. And we ran into a soldier who needed transportation from Richmond to D.C. And he had missed his bus some kind of way, and he needed a ride to get on to D.C. So he asked the bus driver, could he, catch a hop on the bus, because we did have some vacant seats. And the bus driver told him, he said, well, it's not up to me to say. So these guys chartered this bus, and it's up to them whether you can ride or not. We didn't care whether he, rode with us or not, but we said, yeah, you can come on. You can ride, you're welcome. And this young man had enough nerve to ask for a front seat on the bus. And it brought stares from everybody that was on the bus. And we looked at him and say, if you need a front seat, yeah, you can have a front seat just to get on the bus, And because it still amazes me that the guy would have that much nerve to ask for a front seat on the bus after he had gotten a free ride. But he did, and I don't think a word was spoken about it all the way from Richmond to D.C. It was just the fact that he rode with. In fact, we probably didn't even think about it because we were so happy to be on that bus going home, and it didn't even faze us. But just to know that somebody had that much nerve. But my Marine experience was one I never will forget it. It'll be with me as long as I live. And I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of the fact that I was a Marine. They say once a Marine, always a Marine. I guess I'm still some part of me. I might not be a whole Marine, but I'm still some part Marine. And that's a proud thing. In fact, I got a little stand at home now that I got all my little paraphernalia, on it that connected with with the Marine Corps. And they have some of my gear down at Quantico now in Marine history down there. They have the emblem that I wore through boot camp. In fact, I wore it all the way through my military service. And they have the cap, my cap that I trained in, and a money belt that I wore all during boot camp. That money belt got a little story behind it because I had just drawn my last pay. I was working for the Navy Department, and I had just drawn my last pay from the Navy Department, and the money that I had drawn included leave that I had accumulated, and I had about $300 in that money belt, and I trained with that $300 strapped around my waist. I guess I didn't trust the PX to keep my money because you had to take it. If you had valuables, you took it and checked it in at the PX, and you could get it when you finished training. But that money belt carried me through boot camp. In fact, I carried that money belt through boot camp. I slept with it. The only time I took that thing off was when I took a shower. But they have that and a little bio that's down on display down in Quantico. And I'm really proud of that, just to say that somebody's going to be able to read that and see it after I'm gone, That's a star in my crown, really.
What was it like knowing that when you grew up there was obviously a segregated armed forces to the point where your unit, this historic Montford Point Marine unit, was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal?
Well, now that was a surprise, and actually I was not a member of the Montford Point Marine Association, so I wasn't up to date on what was going on. My wife happened to see something on TV about the gold medal was going to be awarded, and she checked into it and found out that that it really was coming off. So we found out, we got news, got information on where the Montford Point Marines met and so forth, and we went to one of the meetings, and from then on it was all uphill for the medal. And I was surprised to get it. I'm proud to have it, and can't nobody take it from me. But that was the for the little time that I spent in the Marine Corps, that was the apex. That was the top thing to happen for me, according to concerning the Marine Corps. And from that, it has brought on some experiences that I wouldn't have had. In fact, I wouldn't be here for this interview had it not been for that congressional medal. And I've had the opportunity to tour the Commandant of the Marine Corps' home. In fact, I have a picture home now of the Marine Corps mascot, the dog, the bulldog, sitting on my foot down at 8th and I at Marine Barracks. I have a picture of that dog sitting on my foot with some of the other Montford Point Marines, in the picture. And to know that there are only, say, 400 plus, well, I'll say 500 minus, because there are not 500 of us left. And to be one of that 400 it makes you feel proud. And every time you hear of one of those, passing on, I guess it touches me. And I guess it touches the rest of the guys who are part of it too, because you know that your number is dwindling down, and it's a number that you can't build on it anymore. It's always going to be going down until there's none. So it's proud to be a part of it, and I want to stay a part of it as long as I can. It's a good feeling, and it's something when you can say that I have something that most people can't get. It's, that medal is the one thing that I have that most guys, even most Marines, will never get. So it's one of those things where, like I said about sticking your chest out, it makes you stick your chest out not to the world but to yourself, and say, I'm a part of this, But it sounds like you're talking to yourself, which you really are, when you're convincing yourself that you have to convince yourself that you're a part of it, because sometimes it's more than it's more than you bargained for, and it's hard to believe. But the experiences I've had as being a Montford Point Marine, I'm really proud of it. I wouldn't swap it, change it, barter it, or I wouldn't sell it for anything. It's something that I have and a few others. And I know that those others are just as proud as I am. And just some of them like to tell war stories, but I don't have any war stories to tell, because I didn't fire one single shot during the war. But those silent shots that I fired are still being heard, because I took the training, and I'm a part of the proof that, as they called us back during that time, colored, that the colored could serve with the white. And I was talking about the first black officer. I didn't really realize until this Congressional Medal thing came up that the Marine Corps had advanced as far as it has, as far as being integrated. I didn't know that they had black generals. In fact, the only black officer I had seen was when I was in Pearl Harbor on vacation and saw the black Marine colonel on board the ship, on board the USS Arizona that we toured while we were down there. That was the first one I had seen, and I was so surprised at his rate. He had his rank. He had an eagle on. I said, Lord, this man got an eagle on, and when I saw him, the best they could get was a brass ball. But it was, in fact, didn't have but one brass ball, so it's come a long way.